So, as you said about the pandemic issues and everything,
Yeah.
so I have a question. In this lockdown situation and pandemic situation, children are feeling stressed out and they're completely, aggressive. So,
Yeah.
could you suggest some sort of techniques for them?
Yeah. So I would say anything that is going to help them to self-regulate their bodies. And it's not so, because
Okay.
so much as we know, anxiety and trauma, it's just stored in the body and we don't know what to do with it. So I'm a big advocate of Play-Doh or making your own Play-Doh, or any type of clay or messy play, is really wonderful of being able to just, I wish I had my Play-Doh here, but one of the things, and it's one of my videos that the kids love to do with their parents is, whether it's Play-Doh or clay, that one of them will start like rolling it and they do it together. So things that we're able to mirror together, and then the other person does it. So it's this beautiful back and forth dance. Things like dancing and music and doing things like freeze dance, where then you stop and then you
Right.
go, and then you can mirror each other and then stop and go, are beautiful things. And I am a big fan of nature and the beauty of nature, and there's nothing better for children than to get them outside and to go outside together. So we'll do things of collecting things and then bringing the nature in and creating a projects, but doing it as a family and creating a story as a family. And what is their story together that they are creating together is something that is just a beautiful thing. One of the things that the children love is like a rainbow walk. And with the family, they go and they go all around and they look for all the colors of the rainbow. And they can, if they have a camera, they could take a picture, or just to be able to focus on red and to stop. If it's a flower, they can smell it and be present, and then they go to orange. So all these things that are just, it's giving them that focus of nature and mindfulness. So they're not, their worry brain isn't going crazy with all the things that make it feel out of control, because there are so many things that we don't know. And I think it's really important for parents to be able to create whatever structure is possible. And it's so hard. Parents are now being teachers, and some are working as well, and how can they really be present with the child? But to be able to try to schedule time every day, that this is specific playtime, reading books, these times that we are just bonding with the children. Children don't always feel like they're the priority. And when we're able to know that, we always want to have that time when we can to connect with them. But if there is time set aside every day, where the child knows that this is my time and it's there, and there's nothing that they're going to do that's going to cancel this time. And that's hard. Parents have to be really consistent with that. But it's showing that, they are the priority, because it's really hard when parents are trying to multitask and there's many kids, and how are you trying to navigate it all? But if you're able to break it down into small baby steps, it's really helpful, because kids,
Right.
they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they have all of these feelings. And we know that the best way to quiet children is to have a parent, which is very hard to do, that is self-aware and able to reset. I'm trained in something called the nurtured heart approach. And in the nurtured heart approach, it talks about how it's based on 3 stands. And the first stand is absolutely no. I am not going to give energy to negativity. So when kids are acting out, if we feed into that, we call it $100 bills, and we get as angry as they do, we're giving them $100 bills. They've won because they've pushed our buttons. So the idea of it is, how do we, if we're self-aware and we can reset and be calm, we call it like being the thermostat. How are we the thermostat when they're the thermometer? We have to be the ones in control. The second we've lost control, we've lost them, right? And it's chaos. Everybody is yelling. And it's the most important thing, which is the hardest thing as parents, is how do we reset and how do we ground them when they're activated? We're calm, we're not ignoring it, and we're calm. But stand two is absolutely yes, that the second they come back, they may be ready to throw something. You are saying, look at you. You could have thrown that, but you didn't. It's showing that you have self-control, and we are giving $100 bills to what they're doing right, not what's going wrong, what they're doing well. And the third stand is this absolutely clear. So you cross a line, and how do we reset? So kids need to know that we have to be absolutely clear. So although the nurtured heart approach is all about these beautiful bonds of connection, it's also about being clear with, if you break a rule, we're absolutely clear, like, boom, there's a consequence. Nurtured heart does not believe in warnings, because when we give kids warnings, it just makes them push buttons more. When we ignore the behavior, it makes kids push buttons more. When we yell and act out, it pushes buttons more. So how do we create a space where we're calm and we're holding a space and being able to create this space of recognitions? I will share with you guys some of my handouts on the nurtured heart approach, but I have seen this approach with the most traumatized children be so transformative, because it's not about saying, I love you or I'm proud of you. They call that junk food. What does that mean? It's about seeing them and giving these recognitions for all the things they're doing right, and all the times you see them being kind, and all the times you see them having self-control, and that they could have hit, they could have screamed, but they didn't. We don't give kids those recognitions. We spend the times of all the times they hit, and all the times they were dangerous, and all the times they were unkind, and we try to make it a teaching lesson, and they shut us down. They just hear noise. But we don't give them the credit, recognizing that kids are great more of the time than they're not. But it's those little incidents that we put all of our energy in, and we talk about it all the time of everything they're doing wrong, than all the wonderful things they're doing great. Because it's the quiet. It's when things are quiet and kids are just playing, and it's like, okay, what's going to go wrong now? When are they going to start pushing the buttons? Because it's the quiet. So how can we push the buttons and energize? We have to be very aware and mindful that when things have been quiet and going well, that's the time we intervene with $100 bills of all the stuff that they're doing right, because kids want energy. So we're going to give the energy into the positive before they choose to bring the power of the energy into the negative, because kids want energy no matter what. I say all the time that it's not about attention, it's about connection. Kids want that connection, and they're going to do it whether you're yelling at them or you're playing with them. And so that's a big part of just bringing it all together in a way of seeing them through a lens of their beauty and their greatness than the things that are wrong with them.
Right. That's amazing. Since you involve parents also into this process, do they find it therapeutic as well for their own issues?
For the parents?
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. And for many parents, it's which is really important to recognize is that many parents are very uncomfortable with play. They're not playful people. So when you have
Okay.
parents who are not playful and are uncomfortable with play, how are they going to connect with their children if they don't like play? So really getting parents, I think that's my favorite part of my work of getting parents, teaching them to play and helping them to recognize the beauty of the relationship through the play of things just of having a catch, of playing a game and letting the children be able to make the rules of the game and not,
Right.
of I don't know how big video games are amongst, the people, of your clients, if there are, but of video games of having the parents not spend all the time of having the children unplug, but have the parents actually play with them, learn what they're playing, play with them, learn about all, and show interest. And it's really entering their world. One of the analogies in the nurtured heart approach
Mm-hmm.
is the video game analogy that children love video games because it doesn't shame them. If you die, you just reset, and it gives them all these bells and whistles for them to want to play more and more. So how do we, our bells and whistles right now are when we're yelling at kids and acting out, and kids are used to that stimulation. But how do we give the same bells and whistles that a video game gives them in terms of giving them this positive energy so they want to buy in? Because we know that silence is when we ignore things, it just sometimes makes it worse. So parents, I think, really within the nurtured heart approach really like this model because it's giving them some language, and they're realizing that how well kids are doing with it. I had one parent say, this nurtured heart approach isn't for me. This isn't how I parent, but I know it works for my kid. So parents, we either have that parenting that is my way or no way. Here are the rules, and that gets them nowhere. Or the parent who's just gonna say, do what you want, because they don't want to escalate things. They're afraid to escalate things. So those two extremes, it's really hard. How do we have those two
Right.
extremes, and when parents can come together? The thing about the nurtured heart approach, which is being used all over the world, it's the same training for clinicians, teachers, principals, and parents. We all go through the same training. So we're all on the same page, which is pretty neat.
Which is very surprising because around us, whenever we see play therapists, we don't see any teachers or parents really getting involved that seriously. So, is there any way, are there any tips for parents or teachers to turn the casual play into a little bit therapeutic play? Is it possible?
Yeah. So you're saying you don't hear much about parents being involved in play therapy?
Not around here.
Really?
Not really.
But you hear much about play therapy around there?
To a certain extent, it's not caught up that much. That's a part
Yeah.
of it.
Okay, because Lucy Bowen, she runs the international the Association for Play Therapy in India. So you guys should get connected with Lucy. But I mean, so much in terms of the work has to do with the family. I absolutely believe you cannot do this work without having the parents involved in training the parents and then being a part of the play. If we're just doing it without the parents being involved, there's no bridge. So I'm a huge advocate of always having the parents involved. I mean, we don't always have parents. We sometimes have caregivers. We sometimes, there's so many. It's so important for no matter who it is that a child always has that trusting relationship with an adult that can literally change what their whole life looks like. They need that one person that really has the power to give them that resilience to be able to really make a change. And it's really that one person. And to be able to do it, because we don't always have the power of parents buying in, or if kids are even with parents. But knowing that they have that safe platform to be able to work out what they need to is really important. I mean, the nurtured heart approach is not a play therapy approach. I love
Right.
it because it's the beauty of the attachment-based approach altogether, and it just brings it all together. So it's my approach. And there's many different modalities of play therapy.
Right.
So if you're looking at client-centered play therapy, it may not be so much the family. If we look at filial therapy or parent-child interaction therapy, there's a lot of different therapies and TheraPlay, which is my favorite, which is all attachment-based, beautiful attachment-based games, is always done with the parent in the room.
That's nice.
Okay.